His eyes welled up. I felt it in my chest before I could feel it in my head. He took a breath. The kind that just doesn't quite work. A few seconds later, he stood up and he left the room. I said something I didn't plan to say. A meeting that wasn't really supposed to be heavy, with a man I respected. A man going through something quiet. But then I noticed something about him, and I said it. And I can't tell you why I said it. The words were just there. And I let them out. The standard arrived before I did. And sometimes the truth comes out before you decide to tell it. Then I watched it land. And I see it. His eyes begin to well. And that his voice just broke. And in that moment, I felt that pull. I don't know, to hug him or probably to apologize too and to take back what I said. And to say I didn't mean it that hard. That pull was real. It wasn't just a thought. I felt it in my body. And then what came out of my mouth really was just, it's okay. Not the apology, just softening. And then I just stopped talking. I stayed and didn't say anything else. I held the line, but not cleanly. Most leaders don't fully rescue, and they don't just fully hold either. They do both. He then stood up. He left the room. He clearly needed a minute. And I just sat there. What I noticed wasn't relief. It wasn't satisfaction. It was the temptation to use this gap, to plan a softer version of the conversation, to rehearse a way to take the edge off when he came back. I didn't do that. I just sat. The hardest part was holding the silence afterwards. He came back in the room, and the temperature was different. Both of us were quieter. I started to speak. And the first thing I did was empathy. I talked about how difficult it must be for him. I kind of tried to meet him in his heaviness. Then I pivoted forward. Now is the time to focus on what you want. That was a generous statement. it was also different sentence than the one I said just 5 minutes earlier. I went from holding to helping, and I didn't even notice the change in gear. Empathy can be the place of hard truth, quietly getting negotiated. That evening, he texted me. He thanked me for that meeting. And he said I had hit a nail on the head. And said no one had told him this before. And he cracked a joke. He said I had a future as a therapist. And he meant that warmly. And I read it. I felt it. And I wrote back. And I told him what he was doing. Looking back instead of looking forward. I told him that it was normal, given what happened to him. And I offered to sit down with him properly, to figure it out, to build everything around what he actually wanted. And that's where it starts to click. That was the line. In the moment, I had held the standard. And in that message, I took on the project. The hours after, a hard truth, where the truth either lives or quietly gets redone. And that message did something I didn't see at the time. He named me the truth teller, the therapist, the one who said the thing. And in my reply, I accepted that role. We'll sit down, we'll figure it out, and we'll build around what you want. Each of those is generous, and each of those is a contract. And now he messages me when he needs the truth, and I answer. Every time he does, the contract renews. The cost of holding the line in those 3 seconds is that I now have to hold the line for him ongoing. And I get something for that. There's something quiet in being the one who tells him. I don't pretend I don't. Governance under pressure is not what happens in those 3 seconds. The 3 seconds is just the flag. What you do in the 3 hours after is whether you actually held. The standard held in the room. The standard got renegotiated by text. Both are true. And most leaders never see the second part. The version of you that didn't apologize is not the same as the version of you that didn't take it on. That meeting still sits with me. Not because of what I said, but because of what I sent afterwards. The line I held in the room was clean. The line I quietly took on by text is the one I'm still carrying. What are you still carrying for someone? Because when they broke out in front of you, you needed to be the one who could hold it.